Hello everyone, this is Aryan Thakkar, your coach and mentor, and welcome back to my YouTube channel on ARYAN Tutorials, where in this final video we are going to wrap up with the last two scenes of Macbeth, which is scene 8 and 9. But before I get started, I want to request you that if you haven't been through your text, then kindly do so and then get going with this insightful revision video. Now, finally, the entire drama comes to a closure and a conclusion where let's quickly get into the summary of 8 and 9 and then the critical analysis. What happens in scene 8 is that there is a final confrontation. There is a final confrontation between Macduff and Macbeth in this particular scene. Setting here is the battlefield outside Dunsinane, and then Macbeth enters still defiant. Defiant ka matlab, still he is relying upon the witch's prophecy. He's still relying upon the equivocated prophecy that no one born of a woman will be able to harm him. That is why he's defiant, he is arrogant, he mocks anybody who comes and tries to attack him. So he's still defiant, and at the same time, he's outrageous. Violent means he's outrageous. Okay, he's outrageous. And then Macduff confronts Macbeth, leading to Macbeth boasting about his charmed life, that he bears a charmed life, that no one born of a woman will be able to vanquish him or kill him. So he cannot be killed by anyone who is born of a woman, leading to step 4, which is the twist, where Macduff reveals that he was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. That is, he was a cesarean baby. वो सी सेक्शन से पैदा हुआ था, which completely violates the prophecy, or it dawns upon Macbeth that prophecies were always equivocated and he feels cheated and betrayed. So Macbeth realizes that the witches have deceived him through equivocation, and then last में Macbeth considers surrender but refuses. Although Macbeth is like, ठीक है मैं हार मानने को तैयार हूं, लेकिन मेरा क्या होगा नतीजा अगर मैं सरेंडर कर दूं. तब मैकडाफ उसको बोलता है कि वी आर गोइंग टू टेक यू इन आवर कैप्टिविटी एंड यू विल बी पुट अप फॉर अम्यूजमेंट लाइक अ जेलर in a cell in prison, where all people will come and mock and make fun of you, will mock at you and will make fun of you. So he will not be displayed like a trophy. That is what he says, and therefore he chooses to fight till his bones be hacked. So Macbeth and Macduff fights, and Macduff kills Macbeth in this particular scene, and the tyranny finally goes dead. ठीक है. Talking about the critical analysis of scene 8, over here the prophecy's trap finally snaps shuts. It comes to a closure, and it finally ends. ठीक है, closure or ends, where Macbeth's greatest protection, or rather what he thought to be of his greatest protection, becomes his cause of destruction. Here Shakespeare proves that the witches work through half truth. Ambiguity means incompleteness. Half truth, incompleteness, and psychological manipulation to mark Macbeth's tragic end, to seal his tragic end. So Macbeth is not defeated by fate alone, but by his own blind fate. So it was not just fate, rather it was his free will. It was his free choices which blinds him to the fate, and that marks his tragic end. ठीक है, that marks his tragic end. Got it? I hope that is clear. And then talking about Macduff, Macbeth's tragic moment of recognition. When Macduff reveals his birth, Macbeth has a sudden realization that the witches have lied, they have equivocated, and they were never in favor of Macbeth, and this is Macbeth's tragic awakening. That is when realization dawns on him, which is too late to save him any further. बहुत देर हो चुकी है and वो अपने आप को अब बचा नहीं सकता है. Which re-echoes the word that I have stepped in blood ocean so far that to return were as difficult as to proceed. ठीक है, and that is why he decides to proceed with the battle. Now, talking about further more critical analysis, warrior identity. Although Macbeth has been trapped and lured by the witch's equivocation, still he chooses to die like a hero. Once again, reclaiming back his older self when he was brave and valiant. Okay? However, at that time, he was a heroic figure, but now, by the end, when he reclaims onto his heroism, he becomes a flawed, tragic hero. So, warrior identity, Macbeth refuses to surrender even as a tyrant. He retains, he preserves, he retains or preserves his pride, his courage, and his warrior spirit. So Shakespeare ensures that Macbeth's end is not cowardly, rather, it is a tragic end of his. Okay? His final act is to die fighting. Justice over here is portrayed as personal because Macbeth, out of his impulse, had announced Macduff's entire family's slaughter, and that made Macduff's revenge, his attempt to seek revenge from Macbeth, very personal. So Macduff kills Macbeth not only for Scotland but for his own murdered wife and his children, making Macbeth's assassination a necessity and personal to Macduff. Insight: Macbeth's private crimes finally meets public punishment in this particular scene. And then there is a contrast between tyrant versus hero. This scene forces the audience to see Macbeth as both a murderer, a tyrant, and a fallen hero. Fallen means a tragic hero at the same time. Okay? Because he reclaims back onto his valiancy, his bravery. Conclusion: his death is satisfying morally, but there is a tragic emotional. You can empathize with Macbeth and you can feel that pain towards Macbeth. In other words, the manner in which Macbeth dies, it evokes a sense of pathos as well. Pathos is empathy towards him. ठीक है कि ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए था उसके साथ, but then it was his own choice which led to this tragic end of his. And then talking about the character sketch, in this final scene, Macbeth is shown as fearless, formidable, proud, and at the same time doomed. All three are the characteristic traits of his. His downfall is driven by his own vaulting ambition, his moral collapse, and his deception. Refusal to surrender shows remnants. Remnants का मतलब क्या होता है? Remnants is your leftovers, जो बचा कुचा बाकी रह गया है उसका, that is remnants of honor even within corruption. ठीक है? The leftover honors which is left in this final are of him being corrupted. And then Macduff over here, what is the characteristic traits of Macduff? He symbolizes or he epitomizes justice, revenge, and restoration of order. There could be an important question that can come in the examination. It is that although by Malcolm becoming the rightful king, the order of Scotland is restored, but actually Macduff had a larger or a bigger role to play. Although restoration and बोलते हैं ना कि आपका जो purgative drug था, like Malcolm is that medicine which can heal the sick country, but that medicine was brought by Macduff. So do prepare an answer on that as well. ठीक है? So unlike Macbeth, Macduff's violence is morally justified. Although they both indulge into their respective violence, but Macbeth's violence was out of impulse and it was selfish. On the other hand, Macduff's violence was a necessity to bring back the order. So he is a hand of providence. Now, hand of providence का मतलब क्या होता है? बोलते हैं ना कि हिंदी में अगर मैं आपको बताऊं, hand of providence का मतलब होता है कि कभी-कभी दुश्मनों को सजा देने के लिए भगवान या परमात्मा खुद उतर के नहीं आ सकते हैं, बोल के कभी-कभी इंसानों को ही शैतान का दमन करना पड़ता है. So hand of providence का मतलब होता है penalty which is to be served, justice which is to be served, but as a moral necessity where God themselves cannot come and serve that justice, and therefore at times human beings have to take up that role of God and serve justice to the country. That is hand of providence. ठीक है? And then moving towards the theme alignment. Theme alignment are fate versus free will. Fate, although that is witches, fate although sets the trap for Macbeth, but then it is his free will which leads him to walk into this path of destruction. Then there is appearance versus reality. that is born of a woman sounded absolute, but reality it had a loophole that he was untimely ripped, that is cesarean baby. Macduff was a C-section baby. Then there is a theme of ambition. Macbeth's ambition ends in humiliation and death at the same time. He died without any honor and respect. Kingship versus tyranny. Tyranny is ended by the rightful moral force. That is the English and the Scottish noble army combined together. Justice and revenge. Macduff's revenge becomes Scotland's justice. And there is also a theme of supernatural, which is destroy Macbeth not by magic swords but by misleading language. ठीक है? Moving forward, some of the key quotation that you definitely should use in your answer for scene 8 are: I bear a charmed life, that is ironical. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. Macbeth thinks that he is invincible. Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped, that is prophecy twist, instant marks. Accursed be that tongue that tells me so, anger and despair. And be these juggling finds no more believed. He understand that witches are deceivers and they never worked in favor of him. At the same time, refusal: I will not yield to kiss the ground before the young Malcolm's feet. Pride remains even in the end. And final line, lay on Macduff, which is iconic final line before his death. ठीक है? Some of the lines in conclusion that you definitely should use are: Macbeth's downfall is sealed. Sealed means confirmed. His downfall is confirmed by the witches' equivocation. Truth twisted into deception. This scene delivers Macbeth's tragic anagoresis, that is, he recognizes the witch's betrayal only at the moment of death, at the final hour. And Macbeth's refusal to surrender restores his warrior identity, making his end tragic rather than cowardly. Macduff functions as the agent of providence, executing justice. Executing means serving justice on behalf of Scotland, country and God itself. The final duel का मतलब होता है sword fight. The final duel, that is sword fight, symbolizes the moral conflict between tyranny and rightful order. And Macbeth's last stance is the collapse of his ambition into blood-soaked futility. Futility is emptiness. That is Macbeth's words, tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. It indeed becomes true in this particular scene. All his deeds, all his past actions and his criminality led to nothingness in the end. Just it marked his tragic end, which was self-inflicted. Concluding line is: Act 5, Scene 8 is a tragic climax where prophecy's ambiguity, that is incompleteness, destroys Macbeth, and Macduff becomes the instrument of justice, ending tyranny through righteous violence. Take care. Through righteous violence means through action. And then moving to the scene 9, where we are brought back to Scotland. Setting is outside Dunsinane after the battle. No, it is not outside Dunsinane. I think it is inside Dunsinane. 1 second. Let me just check it quickly. Where is the textbook? Just 1 second. 1 second. I think there's a mistake on my part. Yeah, it is within the castle. My bad. It is within the castle. Check it is within the castle. There's a sound of drum and all the aristocrats, they enter this particular scene. Chaliye. It is within the castle where Malcolm, Seward and the army, they regroup. They regroup means they come together or they align. Macduff enters holding Macbeth's sword. Now, sword का मतलब होता है separated. Over here, it means decapitated. Decapitated का मतलब होता है किसी का सर को धड़ से अलग कर देना, बॉडी से हटा देना, या आप beheaded भी बोल सकते हो. ठीक है. severed, beheaded, or decapitated head. Malcolm is hailed as a king, hail the king of Scotland. Malcolm declared that Macbeth was a dead butcher and Lady Macbeth was a fiend like queen. Now, what is the meaning of fiend? Fiend is the opposite of friend, which means evil. ठीक है, find is the opposite of friend, where find means evil. And Malcolm invites everyone to Scone, that is Scotland, for his coronation. Coronation आपको पता है ना, crown पहनाना, ताजपोश, राज्य अभिषेक, that is coronation. And then the order is restored and tyranny end. Now when I'm talking about order, it is being referred to as three kinds of order, that is social, political, moral, and at the same time natural. Four. Four kinds of orders are restored in Scotland through Malcolm's coronation. But however, Macduff had a larger role to play in this. Now, talking about critical analysis, there is a restoration of order. Macbeth's death symbolizes the end of unnatural rule, that is, the death of illegitimacy. Death of illegitimacy, and Scotland is healed through justice and through rightful kingship, that is through Malcolm becoming the king. ठीक है, through Malcolm becoming the king. And Macbeth's head is a symbol. His severed head is a powerful political image where tyrants are reduced to trophies. ठीक है. Poetic justice. Macbeth took Duncan's life secretly and Macbeth's death is publicly displayed. That is his karmic debt. ठीक है. That is the karmic debt which Macbeth had to pay for inverting the order through Duncan's regicide. And Malcolm's legitimate kingship is basically Malcolm speaks with calm and authority, which justifies him as a rightful heir to the throne with generosity and unity. These are some of the quality which a king should have, and Macbeth lacked, and that is why it led to his tragic downfall. Unlike Macbeth, Malcolm restores back loyalty and reward for the service and justice, because he gives the title of earls to the aristocrats and nobles of Scotland. That from today onwards, you all will be regarded as the earls uh, of Scotland. It's a new title that he coins and invents. Okay? Then moral judgment is final here. Malcolm's words, dead butcher and find like queen. This is the place official verdict. Shakespeare frames Macbeth not as a romantic hero, but as a criminal tyrant. Okay? At the same time, there is a theme of healing. Malcolm invites the noble to be made the Earls of Scotland. That is the English title which he is giving to the Scottish people as well. Meaning, this suggests that a new Scotland will be framed post Macbeth's rule, a stable and internationally aligned. They are going to politically stretch their means and everything will be reformed. So, entire piece of the country will be restored back through Malcolm's legitimacy. Talking about the character sketch of Malcolm, he is the rightful king. He represents stability, justice, and renewal. Leadership qualities are collective and thankful. He has gratitude for everyone. On the other hand, Macduff and Seward. Macduff is the actual hero of Scotland because he ends tyranny. He symbolizes justice. Seward is an honorable soldier and an ally. Ally का मतलब होता है peer. Your peer. He represents loyalty and his support, national support. Talking about theme alignment, already मैंने बता दिया आपको, kingship versus tyranny हमने discuss कर लिया, justice is served, order versus chaos, loyalty is restored back and it is rewarded as well on the part of Malcolm, and violence is shown to be cleansed. Violence has been eliminated. ठीक है? Some of the quotes, phrases, and the final conclusion. Quotation which you should definitely remember is, behold where he stands, the usurper's cursed head. Hail King of Scotland, the dead butcher and his find like queen. We shall not spend a large expense of time before we reckon with your several loves. Basically, before we engage ourselves into the festivities. Phrases that you can use in your answers are: Malcolm restores back the political, moral order through Malcolm's legitimate kingship. Head becomes a symbol of tyranny reduced to nothing. There is a moral clarity. Macbeth is judged as a dead butcher. And movement from chaos to stability reflects Elizabethan divine justice. And the concluding line is, Act 5, Scene 9 provides a closure As a conclusion, as Macbeth's tyranny is publicly ended and Malcolm is crowned and Scotland is restored to justice, stability, and rightful rule. So, with this, we come to the end of revision of scene 8 and scene 9. I hope this video helps, and if you're liking my content, then please do let me know in the comment section below. I'll see you in my next video. Have a great time preparing for your examination. Take care. Bye bye.